Hey F1 fans, and welcome to
Formula.
Today we're going through the Hungary GP driver debrief, where I go through each driver and give a brief recap of their performance in the race. So let's get straight into it. I'm going to start in reverse order of results, so stick around for my juicy take on McLaren strategy. So starting with Behrman, our only retirement of the race, he had damage which led to a decent loss of downforce points, and the team decided to retire the car. This is a bad way to go into the summer break because it's not like he sucked during the race, and coming off the back of 4 consecutive 11th place finishes, I was really hoping he could drop into the points finally. But Ollie, have a great summer and come back stronger. On to Gasly, who had a little bit of a tangle with Sainz and ended up getting a 10-second penalty for that incident, which kind of put the stoppers on him having a better race. That's disappointing as he's been pretty solid for a good chunk of the season, and then to get out qualified by Franco for the first time and then having a messy race is not going to make his summer holidays taste as good, but he can still hold his head high with the results so far and carrying Alpine to, well, the bottom of the constructors. Time for Colapinto, and he actually out-qualified Gasly for the first time, but a mistake at turn 2 made it hard to recover the positions lost, and then 2 slow pit stops put paid to any progress he had hoped to make. It's a really solid weekend and some promise to build on for the rest of the season, as it's looking likely he'll hang around. But then again, it's Alpine, and who's in charge? Oh yeah, Flavio Briatore. Okay then, maybe don't hold our breath, and expect an announcement of Bottas to replace him for Zandvoort. Poor Yuki, man. Actually, he looked pretty good this weekend and was not that far off of Max in practice sessions, and I think he was even ahead in FP1, and his qualifying time wasn't that far off of Max, but the race was a different story. He did pick up damage towards the end of the race, but he wasn't running very well before then. On to Ocon, who was a bit anonymous. He got out-qualified by Ollie to the tune of 2.5 tenths, which basically made his race that much harder from the get-go. And then the fact he did a mammoth 55-lap stint on the hards almost made it like Haas left him out there and thought, are we forgetting something? Oh yeah, and then brought him in to do 15 laps on fresh mediums. Yeah, cool. That will allow him to work his way up the field. Oh no, look at that. It's Hungary where you can't overtake, and now the race is finished. Better luck after the break, Esty Bestie. Now it's time for Williams collectively, as both drivers finished 14th and 15th. The drivers suffered with their inherently low downforce car and at a high downforce track, go figure. It's not like they were running a low downforce Monza spec wing, they just have always had a slippery car, so are always going to struggle here. Not the greatest strategy to start on softs, and not being able to make impressions early in the race made both Carlos and Albon's race a bit dull. Sainz's ambitions weren't helped with him getting pushed off the track by Gasly, hindering his progress somewhat. Next up is the Hulk, and it was not his weekend after the heights of the Silverstone podium. He is coming back down and again being out-qualified by his rookie teammate by around half a second, then starting the race on softs, getting a jump start. It's just time to go back home and let his daughter play with his Lego trophy, I reckon. Oh boy, here we go. It's hammer time. Oh wait, no, scrap that. It's time for him to have a very much needed break. Hamilton ends a point scoring streak from the very first race, which means only Piastri has scored points in every race this season now. I don't even know where to begin, but in the race it was also revealed that Hamilton had to lift and coast from very early on, due to being underfueled, which is another tactic to reduce plank wear. If the car isn't as heavy at the start of the race, there's not as much load. He started on hards and was hoping for a break in strategy, but got stuck in the Alonso DRS train, as did many others, and yeah, it's just time for him to hit the beach and chill out with his family. Hadjar had a solid weekend, but not quite getting it together in Q3, and getting out qualified by Lawson was not going to be good for his race, and this proved to be true. Behrman running wide at turn 12 and flinging up gravel quite hard into Isaac's hand on lap 1 didn't seem to affect him much, as he was able to refocus quickly, but unfortunately got undercut by Antonelli, which means just missing out on points. Antonelli back in the points and seems to have regained some of his confidence with the older Imola spec of rear suspension, and was running well in Q2 until his lap got deleted and landed in 15th in the race. He managed to pull off the one stop and pinched 10th off of Hadjar with a cheeky undercut, but I think the positives heading into the break is that he seems to have got some of his early season feeling back, so I'm looking forward to a more consistent Kimi coming back after the break. So it turns out Max and Red Bull were not actually sandbagging in practices, and qualifying 8th and finishing 9th was as good as it got. I thought that the RB21 would struggle here like last year, but not to this extent, although he was pulling off some of his classic dive bombs into the 6-7 chicane, and I definitely approved of him nearly punting Stroll early on. He was another that got caught in traffic and then ended up behind Lawson, not being able to make any inroads on his old teammate. Yeah, that was the thing that I almost forgot about too. And even dropped back in the dying stages of the race. Max also doing a Uno reverse of Silverstone 21, and Hamilton showing him perhaps how it could have been handled. He was also stated to Dutch media that he didn't see another win happening this year in normal conditions, which is pretty shocking, but after this race I'm inclined to believe him. Lawson had a bit of a banger finally and managed to hold off Max for 20 laps towards the end to be the first of the Red Bull group finishes, which is not what we were saying at the start of the year. So well done Liam, and head up for the rest of the season. So this is going to be hard for me, but Stroll actually had a pretty good qualifying and a decent race. He lightly simmered because I wouldn't say he cooked. That would be reserved for his 44-year-old teammate. Gabby was amazing and becoming a real contender for Rookie of the Year. What a race. Amazing qualifying, which was seen to have been overachieving, and then he betters that to finish 6th. I mean, that's just incredible. In a green wheelie bin, and that means we're really going to have to throw that saying in the, green wheelie bin, I guess, or if you printed it out now it would have to go in the recycling bin maybe. But anyway, they're really having a great time of late and will be dangerous as Audi next year if they keep this up. They say age catches up with you, but I think it's completely forgotten about Alonso, as he turned 44 and then turned it on to create a masterclass in how to be the ultimate conductor of a DRS train. Or you might even say a choo-choo-churro train. Okay, that was horrible, sorry about that. He was tactically slow through the first 2 sectors where you can't overtake, and then bolted through the last sector so he didn't get DRS'd down the straight, which secured him an outstanding 5th and is really keeping the Constructors' fight alive for 5th overall. Okay, so you know how we're all a bit of a Ferrari fan? Well, Ferrari have problems, and I'll do a whole other video covering their major issues, but wow, poor Leclerc going from pole to off the podium. It seems to be the same problem from the start of the year that reared its head in China of trying to run low enough to get performance out of the SF25, but not so low that they obliterate the plank. The new rear suspension in Spa was supposed to fix that, and hopefully it still needs tweaking, or they can throw this season in the previously mentioned green wheelie bin. Then to rub salt in the wounds was Russell being a snitch, saying he reckons Leclerc's Ferrari was running illegally low and then running engine modes that would back off the power delivered towards the end of the straight. And this topic will be covered more in my Ferrari Fallout video next week, but Leclerc was losing almost 2 seconds per lap on Russell and finished 20 seconds behind in just the last 8 laps alone, although 5 seconds of that was for the penalty for moving under braking. Now on to the snitch himself, who actually had a pretty good weekend, from nearly qualifying on pole, if it not for a wobble on the last corner, and then a good start, or shall we say a bad start for Norris, and then just being there in the race and spawning into a podium when it matters, like he's been doing all season. His battle with Leclerc was actually pretty entertaining, and I think that at that point Charles was just so pissed that he just didn't care at all and was just determined to make George's life hard. The last late move was a bit much and probably deserved a penalty, to be fair. A very decent first half of the season for George, and everyone is waiting for news on a contract, which I'll have a video coming soon about the implications it could have for Max's future prospects at Mercedes. Lastly, on to McLaren, and how has a Norris bottle off the line turned into a win, man? He had a decent launch but lost out to Russell and Alonso, which had McLaren switching strategies. And Stella has actually confirmed this by stating that both cars were due to do a 2-stop in pre-race briefings. So after losing positions off the line yet again, which I swear is his favourite pastime, he then had to switch to a 1-stop, which turns out to be the race-winning strategy. I mean, it's called Monaco with walls for a reason, and you need about 8 tenths per lap delta on the car in front to pass. Lando was far enough back that you can just gamble on a 1-stop, and for people saying that Zach Brown is favouring Lando because he is like an adopted son, It's a bit silly as it's easy to take a punt because if you stick to the same strategy as Oscar, you're going to finish maybe third, possibly fighting George towards the end of the race. If you take the one stop when Oscar committed pretty early to a two stopper, then at worst you come out with a podium, but if there's a safety car, you gain massively. That's the same strategy that Red Bull introduced in Abu Dhabi 21 because Max had nothing to lose and everything to gain. It's the same as Perez in Sakir 2020 when he had the first lap incident, and they rolled the dice, pulled off a one stop, which was also helped by Mercedes inadvertently doing a three stop when they stuffed up Bottas and Russell's tyre sets. Or like George at Spa last year, gambling with a one stop and technically like claiming the win, but one on track. Now, I will be fair to Norris because he was pumping in fastest laps after his pit stop and then held onto the same tyres and took the win, but it sort of felt like the win in Silverstone, where he wasn't necessarily the fastest driver and didn't really deserve the win. But hey, I'll take a tightening up of the Drivers' Championship right now because Oscar was looking to make it a 23-point advantage, which would start to take it out of reach for Lando heading into a chaotic second part of the season. Well, that's my thoughts on the Hungary GP, but what are yours? Let me know if I completely messed up your favourite driver's debrief in the comments, and thanks so much for watching, and I hope to see you in the next one.